So Pete Buttigieg did an interview with Face the Nation, and he gave us some foreign policy incoherent word salad here. So let's listen, then try to code break his nonsense.
You faulted Democrats in a speech this week for kind of not having much of a strategic foreign policy for the past few decades. What do you mean by that?
I think that it's been difficult, even confusing, to figure out what our foreign policy is because Democrats became so absorbed in opposing whatever the Republicans were doing. Now, often rightly so. What the Republicans were doing was often terrible, but we got so sucked into that. For example, take the Iraq War, which I opposed as a student and continue to think was a terrible idea. We were so horrified by the way that democracy promotion was done at gunpoint then that it very nearly made our party into isolationists, when actually we've often been the ones who believed in more international engagement. And so
you would fault Joe Biden, who you'll be standing on the debate stage with, for his vote?
Well, I certainly think that vote was a mistake, and I have a different view on that conflict. But it's more than any individual vote or any individual conflict. It's what worldview is going to anchor our approach. We're not going to be able to figure out who we are as Democrats by keying off the Republicans and just deciding when we're against it and when we're going to accommodate it. We have to have our own view. And I think our own view needs to be based on the idea that American interests, American values, and American relationships all need to fit together. And I think that'll help us deal not only with threats we've been thinking about a lot, like stateless terrorism and the kinds of things I dealt with as a military officer specializing in terrorism, but also uniquely 21st century threats like climate disruption that is a threat to life and limb in this country. Things like cybersecurity that didn't even exist as a major national security concern just 1 or 2 generations ago. We've got to have a plan for that too. And it's very clear that the U.S. is adrift. I would argue under this administration, the U.S. does not have a foreign policy. Maybe an approach, but the approach is not pretty. It involves coddling dictators. It involves blaming fellow Americans for a lot of the problems we have around the world. And it's no substitute for a policy in which the U.S. is leading. We can either lead the rest of the world or we can resent the rest of the world. We can't do both.
Yeah, nice false dichotomy at the end there. We can either lead the world or resent the world. We can't do both. Why are those the only two options? Why are those I don't understand. Buttigieg he just talks for extended periods of time and says nothing. Here's my favorite part. He goes, we need to have our own view talking about Democrats on foreign policy. And that view is U.S. interests, U.S. values, and U.S. relationships all need to fit together. Okay, you just said shit, but you didn't say anything. Nothing. You said nothing of substance there. I'm going to repeat that. We need to have our own view, Democrats do, and our own foreign policy view is that American interests, American values, and American relationships all need to fit together. There's no way to decipher what that means. That means nothing. He didn't say anything of substance there at all, not even close. He's just making noise. He's making noise to try to sound very professional, very much like a smart politician and an intelligent man who's got everything under control by giving you a bunch of incoherent word salad that sounds good. You have to stop, man. Oh my God, it's so terrible. And then he went on to say, the U.S. has no foreign policy under this administration. Yes, we do. We are a giant empire, and we are doing offensive wars, and we are jacking natural resources. How about that? That's what our foreign policy... We have no foreign policy. Our foreign policy is propping up theocratic dictators like in Saudi Arabia and helping them commit a genocide in Yemen. How's that? How's that, Pete? Does that sound like a more biting criticism? It is, and it's also correct, and it's also something you would never say. This administration has no foreign policy. Oh, how will Trump recover from this? What a great line of attack, sir. God damn it. And then he says, he has no foreign policy except, coddling dictators. So you know what that is, right? I just want to, because he actually is saying something there, and the thing he's saying is stupid. In other words, what he's saying is, how dare Donald Trump not, already be at war with Russia, because he needs to be tougher on Vladimir Putin. He's coddling Vladimir Putin. And also, Buttigieg is apparently against what Trump is doing. The one bright spot in his foreign policy, what's happening with North Korea. He's coddling Kim Jong-un. So what's the alternative, buddy? You don't want to talk to them? You don't want to talk to them? You don't want to make peace with them? So you don't want to do it. You're saying it. You're saying we're coddling dictators. Kim Jong-un is a dictator. We're trying to work out some sort of a deal. That's the one thing you're against of all the things Trump is doing? We're about to go to war with Iran right now. We escalated in Syria. We're backing a genocide in Yemen. We're still in Iraq and Afghanistan. And your response is, well, coddling dictators. It's, God damn it. It's like he was made in a lab by Third Way and the New Democrats. Pete Buttigieg was. And then, he kind of let you, there are little hints, little clues throughout everything he says there that really let you know that he's not what he's trying to portray himself as. So he says, notice what he described the Iraq war as. This is a direct quote. He said, democracy promotion done at gunpoint. Imagine being, over the age of 15 and believing that the war in Iraq to this day was about, quote, democracy promotion. Do you really think that's what it was about? Hey, you said it. You just said it. The war in Iraq was democracy promotion done at gunpoint. More like jacking oil and feeding the military-industrial complex. I mean, how he called it democracy promotion done at gunpoint. He said, and he meant this in a negative way about the Democrats. Oh, we're so focused on saying what we're against that, quote, we almost became isolationists. First of all, as I said in my talk with Michael Brooks, isolationist has a negative connotation. It's like a pejorative. No, we should call it non-interventionist because that sounds value neutral. That sounds benign. It sounds like a more accurate description of what it is. Isolationist seems like it goes beyond foreign policy and it's got a negative connotation to it. There's a reason he used the word isolationist because he doesn't like that. He's saying we almost became isolationists. Like that's a bad thing. No, that's step one of any foreign policy that makes sense is for a candidate to say, we are done with all these illegal and offensive wars. Full stop. Full stop. We're done with them. We're done with all the illegal and offensive wars. This dude was asked about foreign policy, and he did not say, we got to get out of Iraq, we got to get out of Afghanistan, we got to get out of Syria, we got to stop aiding a genocide in Yemen, we got to stop our shadow war in Africa, we got to stop our drone program, which is killing innocent people nonstop. We got to stop all of that. He didn't say that. He didn't say that at all. Why? He doesn't believe in that. He's a technocratic manager of empire, and he's fine with that. This guy's a fraud, man. He's a fraud. And he's going to talk a lot and say nothing, and to the extent he does say anything, it's going to be cringeworthy.